my goodness. Little bumpy. Hundreds of a second. That's less than the blink of an eye.
Herzlich willkommen, welcome everybody to a snowy Winterberg in Germany. We're in the Hochsauerland for round 4 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. And despite blowing winds and snow all day long and a metre of snow overnight, or a foot of snow overnight certainly, we have a race on our hands. We get the action underway with the women's bobsleigh, John, at a track that should be familiar to most of our teams.
Yeah, it was built in the mid-70s. I was here as an athlete way back then in the time, but it's changed a lot. They've got a new construction on the finished building, and they've really improved the facility. Very easy track to get down. It's just tough to be accurate and get down fast. The USA, Myers-Taylor, Lolo Jones own the track record here. At the start, this little kick, first curve, real challenging. They put that in about 8 years ago, changed the personality of the track. Now into this Omega curve, it's really slow, almost boring up here. It lulls the driver into feeling no problem, and you can make a minute mistake going uphill right here, and then you just throw away your time at the bottom. Now you start to pick up a little bit, curves 5, 6. Now we get into the big Kreisel curve, a big 280-degree whip around. You exit underneath where you enter the curve and slingshot to the bottom, and now you really start to pick up some speed. Curve 9, if there's any place we're going to see some challenge for the athletes here. A couple people crashed yesterday there training, and now a big sweeping 11. Now a three-quarter combination. It's quick, really quick for four-man sleds. But here, finish curve. You're going uphill, still no opportunity for making an error because you could really throw away a lot of time. Throwing down, it's pretty easy to get down, Martin. Tough to get down with the best time.
And that track record, like the start record set in the World Championships in February 2015 here by Anja Schneider-Heinz-Stürkel and Annie Dratzek. Dratzek is back in the field. Schneider here this weekend, 7 months pregnant. And
doing commentary for the RD. Yeah.
Due to have her baby in just a couple of months. Air temperature -1, ice -2. The ice will be good as ever. The snow blowing in will be an issue, but the near gale force winds of overnight have died right down, and for that at least the athletes will be mighty happy. Just want to say hi to Lauren Williams. She'll be up bright and early, well, early, watching her teammates in the USA. There is one of them, Jamie Greubel-Poser rather. Alana Myers-Taylor, you saw in the background. She will be heading home tomorrow for the funeral of her grandfather, Don, who died earlier in the week. So she's trying to get the race done. And
big bobsled fan he was, too. Really big support for her.
And, you know, like every athlete here, grandparents, parents, they are the single biggest reason any athlete ever gets to the international stage. We have 19 sleds on our entry list, so precluding crashes and other problems, they will all get to go in the second heat. And we have 1 debutante driver and 3 brakewomen making their debut in the World Cup as well. So again, as we've had every race this year, new athletes, new talent coming in, as suddenly we note that the clock is ticking down to the games next year. First sled for race 4 in the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Making her World Cup debut, Liende Dekker of Belgium, the 23-year-old criminology student, with Nell Paulison, her 21-year-old brakewoman.
So this is basically the home track for Belgium. And it's the European Championships, and that's why they've got a 3rd sled here in the competition. Amazing, a small little country like Belgium. It's got 3 sleds here in the women's field. The Belgian Bullets.
So we've got the Belgian Bullets, the Junior Belgian Bullets, and the Junior Belgian Bullets.
Yeah. They do a good job. They're well organized, sponsored.
Yeah, the Red Devils, they became last year when they had this new bank sponsorship. They're still using the BTC Latvia sleds, which have been so successful for them. And actually, you can see not an awful lot of snow in the track. We've seen a lot worse in bad weather.
Oh, she's really
She's scared because
she's still out of control. Boy, she gets it down. We saw a crash yesterday. Christina Schenker from Germany.
Stephanie Schneider.
She crashed there with the same type of move. That's what curve 9 can do to you.
And in fact, Stephanie Schneider will not race today. Crashed heavily yesterday in training. She already suffered a broken collarbone in Whistler in a crash. She'd just come back from that and hurt herself again. So Leander Decker shakes her head, and she got away with that one, but it's very different from how it was in training, and this track will do that to you no matter how experienced you are.
59.08. That's about 2.5 seconds. Look at those pictures out of curve 9, and now she's like, uh-oh. And then you got to set yourself up for the, this is the exit of 9. Watch this great camera shot here. The crew comes up, down, and then she has to go back up in the outlet. So she came down too early, almost cost her.
Well, the great thing is she reacted in time. Safety first, you can worry about the time for run 2. Kristen Zenkel from Germany with Ann-Kristen Strack behind us. Zenkel started driving this season and has just started her second ever race 3 seconds ago.
Good exit of the zero curve. It's reason it's a zero curve because they added that about 7 or 8 years ago. And what a change in personality of the track. It used to be hardly any challenge up here, but now you have to get in, get down, and get settled before you run that first curve. It has more of a nemesis to the four-man teams.
Kristen Zenkel's last race as a brakewoman was in Sochi in February 2015. Less than 2 years later, she's driving in her second World Cup. That is a very quick rate of progress for a new driver.
70 start, that's pretty decent. That's 2300s off the watch out, this is not easy here. She's late here, so she'll struggle there. As I say that, she comes short perfect. She's got a second lead on the Belgians.
It didn't have half the problem that Leander Decker did.
But, you know, she had a 30-hundredths lead to start. And it's a 3-time multiplier effect at the bottom. So that's 90 hundredths at the start. You know, this is her, what, third event?
Yep, third World Cup start, second World Cup
Second
start.
World Cup start.
Altenburg was her debut.
So good athlete here, back seat to the front seat in a couple years. They accelerated some of these female athletes for Germany, and you know, Schneidi won that World Championships last year with a great start time.
There you go.
Watch this. This is little 9. You're going to see pictures like this all day, all weekend. Curve 9 it lulls you to sleep, and then here, watch her. She comes down a little bit too quick. No, here she just let it come up too late there. Different lines come through there. Precision, that's an understatement.
Sled's coming up a bit of a hurry-up offense rate because of the threat of snow wiping out the heats. There's Canadian coach Graham Richardson, former Canadian coach Tom Delahunty back on tour with the Dutch this weekend, and there's a Dutch connection in this set as well. Christine de Bruyn, married to Ivo de Bruyn, who's sliding in the men's races for the Netherlands. 27-year-old, originally from Edmonton, Alberta, now lives in Calgary. And Catherine Medeiros, a former ski racer, is her brakewoman.
Now the speed at the start and the start time are two different things. The 50 meters is where the clock ends, and the 60-meter time is sort of relative to how you get in the sled and have acceleration. And now the push bar comes down late. Great story. When you train, the countries train together in the first 2 days of the week. So the Canadians were going. And Christine de Bruyn, she comes down and she crashes. And her husband, who drives for the Dutch, he's up next. He's 2 sleds away, so what is he thinking? His wife crashes on the track. He's next to go down with 2 sleds. We're sitting there looking at him. It was just a strange scenario.
Well, it's good to slide on tour. Lots of relationships happen on tour and continue. There is that jeopardy, isn't there? 1.29 seconds off the lead of Kristen Zenkel, currently just behind Leander Decker of Belgium.
Start efficiency.
Oh, and almost rolls it off. And this track is renowned as being a track that learner drivers come to. Here in Eagles are the 2 European training tracks, really. But if you don't have experience of a track, and she doesn't have a lot here in Europe, then it can catch you out. And again, just to underline, as we did last week in Altenburg, training and race conditions being so different makes a huge difference to how the thing handles.
She looks body language, pretty disappointed, and watch these pictures. And this, you really don't want to watch that, because that's Was that a Robin Hood?
She hauled it down there, and the back was just going up the hill.
How this sled did not crash is beyond me. Look at those pictures. That's not how to get through these curves. How she stayed on all 4 runners. It's in the bank, though.
Yeah. So the Canadians are down. That's 3 of 19. Next up is Andrea Greco from Romania. Now, last week, Andrea was on the back of the sled of Maria Constantin. She's back driving this weekend with Olivia Wiltz, the 24-year-old from Hungary, the triple jumper, as her brakewoman. Greco, a former 100-meter sprinter, brakewoman driver, depending on the track.
Well, you know, they're breaking her in slowly. In Whistler, the Romanians had 2 sleds out there, and she crashed a couple times in training. And she did not compete in the race. She did not compete in the Classic. She did not compete in Whistler. And here she is here, which is it's almost a Romanian home track, because Paul Niagri, their coach, defected from Romania in the mid-'80s and settled up here in Winterberg.
Unique in the field, she's using an FES sled. Remember, this is the sled that they got last year from the Germans for Maria Constantin. It's not a brand new FES sled, but you know, exactly. A 2-year-old Formula 1 Ferrari is still a Formula 1 Ferrari. Whoa! Hangs it off at a big speed.
Seen anybody get through there clean yet? Even the German sled came down late there.
Yeah. Well, she dealt with that a little more urgently than Leander Decker and gets a 2nd place run out of it as a result. 59.01, 700s ahead of Leander Decker. Well, so is the snow there an issue? Are you just not able to control the back of the sled because it's running in snow and finding no grip on the ice?
It's just, we've seen those pictures here in Curve 9 for decades.
Well, we have indeed.
Well, you know, especially from the inexperienced drivers. All 4 people who just came down are what I call inexperienced drivers. First couple years on the tour, and you know, you won't see too many pictures of sleds going sideways. And here in this easy track in Winterberg, we've seen 3 of the 4 sideways out of Curve 9.
Yep. We're going to run an unofficial competition for most sideways, backing it into corner 10. Next up for Japan, 30-year-old Minami Homa, former sports track and field and then skeleton turned bobsledder. Natsumi Kawasaki, her 28-year-old brakewoman. And for the first time ever in World Cup, 2 Japanese sleds in the women's field this season.
Doesn't matter what language, there's a rhythm and cadence, an explosion at the start. Everybody's got their own way of doing it.
Now, Minami Homa on her bio comes out at 1.57 m, which is about 5'2". She's the 2nd tiniest athlete in the field, as far as I can work out.
Neither one of them are big, and of course they've adjusted the women's bobsled weight last season, which makes it a little bit easier for smaller female athletes to compete, which, if you think of it, is a good idea.
Yep. Opens the field a little.
It's great to see Japanese sleds. I mean, we're the men's team, you know. We'd love to see the men's team, but the last guy we saw, Takahashi, I think, he was the last guy we saw who'd seen any men's teams for a couple years.
Of course, there is a Japanese sled building project going on as well in Tokyo, and the first of the Japanese-built sleds is currently being used by the Jamaican bobsled team. So they are plying their trade below the World Cup level, but with a Japanese-built sleds.
Hans Rimmer on the left, he's the leader of the pack here. He's been the leader of the pack in the German program, the Swiss program. If there's a way to describe more than veteran, that's him.
Is that a nice way of saying he's older than us?
Don't bring that up.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so she is 800s behind Leander Decker at the moment.
Getting in the sled. This is where athleticism is needed. Look at how she points. So she's so small, she had to point her body on an angle to get in the sled. Brakeman, one-arm technique, the second arm still stuck back there. You'll see the good teams really have a really cohesion way of getting in the sled. Down here on the bottom, this was not bad compared to the previous 4 sleds.
So 5 sleds of our 19 have started. This is the third of our US drivers. Brittany Reinbold She's a former brakewoman, brake from 2011 through to 2016. Lauren Gibbs behind her, former volleyball player from LA.
Ooh, it's like they skipped out of that 572, very good start. But they skipped out of that drive lines where they ended. Some weird movement in the sled. But Lauren Gibbs was in before the driver, so that'll be, they show us that replay. We might be able to analyze what happened there. But 1500's down already.
Like everybody else praying this morning that the snow would abate a little because it was a real blizzard at breakfast time.
Ooh. She was 200's down, then 15, then 22, and she's got some experience on the North America's Cup. This is her third, I think, World Cup, right?
Yep.
She won it last year, too. Not bad there, very nice.
Certainly not an awful lot of driving experience in Winterberg.
Probably.
But if you learn on Lake Placid, then you get an idea of how to drive and where the steers are required. And that's a favoured speed holding routine as well. Hang it up on the wall out of the final corner. We've seen races won with sleds rolling out of the final turn.
Well, we saw a crash there yesterday. Yep. The Romanians, four-man training, and that was an epic adventure. We went up and back a couple times. And,
all the way past the finish and all the way back down.
Yeah. But curve 9, you know, she doesn't steer too much there. A little bit of a skid, nothing like most of the other sleds, but there was a skid there. Here, she lets it go up. It comes down, forced to go back up. And when you're forced to go back up, she gets away with it there. But, you know, before the end of the weekend, we could see somebody flip out of the finish curve.
There's entirely that possibility. I'm putting my money on the Swiss. Kristen Zankel of Germany leads by a quarter second from Brittany Reinbold of the USA. Alexandra Rodionova, the 33-year-old from Bratsk in Russia, with 28-year-old brakewoman Yulia Shokshweva. Shokshweva now lives in the beautiful city of St. Petersburg. Rodionova coming in from Luge.
You know, it just seems to get... they just seem to improve. You know, they don't improve a lot, but from where she was a couple years ago to now, and the start is better. So 572 start, she's got way more experience down the track than Senko, especially because she's a luge athlete. She's probably been down the track 10 times more in a luge sled than a bobsled.
At least.
And she shows from. She's 200s, down to 100. Now it's green numbers. So here's a luge athlete taking advantage of her luge experience and crossing over to the bobsled wheel.
700's up. Nice looking run, tidy lines, no major dramas. Let's see how she fares below the Kreisel into corner 9.
She should be the leader because she's the most experienced driver in the field. Look at those lines. That's what you expect out of experience, right there. Real quiet steering down here. She's the leader. Just a question about how much. This is the top speed, 78 miles an hour.
That's a good run from Rodionova.
57.82.
on the left.
So that's 28, 1 second, 28 hundredths out of the track record, which is, we're not going to see any track records probably most of the weekend with all this snow that they got in here.
Yeah, it's forecast to snow a lot all weekend.
Yeah, compared to last weekend, we saw the track record broken in 3 of the 5 disciplines.
Well, there it snowed early in the week, and it was dry at the weekend. This time we're on the other way around.
Yeah.
So Rodionova puts in a nice, tidy-looking run, and if that's not top 6 at the end, then we're going to see some very fine driving.
Little tip here, this is going into Kreisel. And look at the difference. This is the distance measured about how much space that you cover as you come around the Kreisel. And the German athlete covered almost 2 kilometers, meters less.
Kilometers less, yeah.
Yeah, so when you deal with it, meters is hundreds of seconds.
Yeah. Well, next up, Jamie Greubel poser for the USA. This, in fact, is our 2014 Olympic bronze medal winning team. Jamie with Asia Evans.
Asia, very powerful starter. Unlike the rest of the most of the rest of the other American brakemen are speed athletes. Look at that start, 5:54. Now we're
looking good, yes.
That's only that's close to the record, 1100s back.
Yeah.
So, barring some problem down here, this should be the leader. She won the event in Lake Placid.
Well, Jamie won on this track last season as well in the World Cup with Sherelle Garrett behind her. Sherelle back on tour. She's not racing this weekend, but she's back and fit.
Boy, she quite a character.
Yeah. In fact, the last 2 races here have been won by Jamie, and the previous season, the Worlds won by Alana Myers-Taylor. So the USA have a bit of defending to do here.
Nice lines, good speed, 130 something here in the finish. Let's see it. 100. Wow, that was great speed.
Yeah.
130.5, fastest speed there on the bottom. But you would expect it at the start. She had an 1800s better start than the Russian. And downtime.
5300s. That's a big slide. Yeah.
3400s.
Good run from Jamie Greubel poser.
Watch the Jamie, a very accomplished pentathlete from Cornell University. And watch her brakeman get over the top. Asia Evans is another great athlete. Look at her knees come down. Now watch the technique from Asia Evans here with the arms. Now, one arm at a time.
Jamie didn't get seated in the seat. The seat is a tiny little sort of 3-inch high crescent of plastic that basically you brace yourself against. And she landed on that and then had to resettle.
We have to watch what we say because we're in the same hotel.
Yeah. Nadezhda Segova of Russia. We're staying in the same hotel as the Russians as well, with Anastasia Kochetsova. Kochetsova, 26-year-old, started in bobsled in November. She did 2 North America's Cup races, and then Whistler, Lake Placid, Altenburg. Talk about in
look
at the
at
deep
that
end.
technique. Nice technique. One of the arms got caught back there. 66 start, nothing like the poser thing, but second best overall.
This is only her 6th race then, Kochetsova as a brakewoman. Nadezhda Segova, also a former brakewoman. She started back in 2010. Started driving 3 seasons ago.
She's a real tall girl, looks like the same size as Jamie Greubel poser, but she sits down on the sled. Boy, she's really down low. Her eyes barely above the cowl. A couple mistakes there. She entered the Kreisel. That's going to cost her at the next lap.
Kochetsova, the brakewoman, to fit in as well, as she's another tall, rangy athlete like Lauren Gibbs.
This is pretty good. Now, there's a race within a race here. Russians against Russians.
Always. At the moment, she's ahead of Alexandra Rodionova.
Yeah.
Trying to retake her position as the more experienced and therefore the #1 Russian driver, and she does.
Wow.
Russians 2nd and 3rd. Last Russian women slider to take a medal on this track. Not in the record books. So if the Russians get in amongst the medals here today, it will be a first
ever.
Yep.
I think there's only a couple, and that's from Victoria Tokovaya, who's here coaching the Russians.
Maybe so.
I think she's got the only one.
My records don't go back that far.
Now, what good technique here from the brakeman. She comes in both arms together, and they should try and flip over. Of course, shoulder issues. See, she's trying to get them both together. The one got caught on inside. Look at the speed before curve 1. Look at the difference. 4 kilometers, 4/10 of a kilometer from Greubel poser. That's the entry into the sled. So there's the start time, then there's the power step in the sled that gives you that acceleration down the track.
Nadezhda Segova in 2nd place. Jamie Greubel poser leads. We had an all North American podium last year on this track. Here's another of our North American sliders. World Cup rookie Alicia Rissling, the 28-year-old. Genevieve Thibault, the token Frenchie, she says, in the team.
Whoa. The brakeman getting quicker than the driver.
Yeah.
587, 6th best start now. She's going to need, Riesling's going to need the perfect line. She did well in Lake Placid. She did well in Whistler.
Yep.
Didn't see him in Altenburg last week. 6/10 down already. Boy, that's more than the start deficiency. She shouldn't have been that far back. Listen to the sound. Nice clean exit.
Well, again, Rissling with relatively little European experience, John, so this is all learning, isn't it? Getting that data for future seasons.
Look at the way she got through 9, like it wasn't even there. She steered around the bottom of it. Maybe too much steering.
Well, I've got to say,
speed.
5th position, 58.21. It's a good-looking run.
Well, if you consider she's 3,300s down at the start, and she's 9,100s down. 33, 33, 33 is 9,900. So Riesling put in a good drive down the track there.
Plus, you don't get a second run if you crash it by being too wild on the first. So get one in the bank and then try and learn and build on that in the second heat.
Before Greubel, though, watch this little tap on the right. Wasn't perfect here, but this is, you know, hundreds of seconds when you're only going 50 miles an hour. You accelerate to 78, 79 before you exit the track. But boy, it's so important. No mistakes allowed on this track, especially at top.
Well, listen, driving up here in the snow this morning, being accurate to a foot, never mind an inch, was troublesome. 9 sleds down, and it is Jamie Greubel poser that leads with 10 still to come in the first of our 2 heats. 10 sleds down. Alicia Rissling was the 10th. Christina Hengster of Austria with a brand new brakewoman. Jennifer Onasanya started the sport in November. This is her 3rd ever bobsleigh start of any kind.
Well, she had a great explosion out of the block, so I was very impressed with that.
I guess that's why she's on the sled.
You know, we also got to mention, this is the European Championship, so this Jamie Greubel poser, right now the Russians are in the lead for the European Championships, 1-2, right?
Yeah.
So, well, Christina Hengster, you know, this is one of the top drivers in the field. Look how low she is in the sled, her eyes barely above. I love that aerodynamic. You know, sitting in the sled like that. Some people get up too high.
And I wonder whether Sanne Dekker, her regular brakewoman, isn't in the sled because she's Dutch and they have to have 2 Austrians to have Austrian.
This one here is Dutch too, so I think she's just trying a second brakeman out, which is smart.
Yep.
To have somebody in the bench because, you know, hamstrings and groins don't always function. 3,300s back. This isn't bad. This is second best time. It's not the good speed, though, you expect out of Hengster. She ducks her head at the finish. 3,800s back. Coach Manfred Mayer on the right. His son will come up tomorrow in the 2-man competition. And longtime coach Franz Joseph Hoffman. He was running today.
Yeah, he was out running
in this stuff. I go, you lost?
Lost his mind.
But that's a pretty good run. Yep. Second best start. Oh, that explosion. Really good technique for somebody we've never seen before.
Yep. 3rd ever race.
Now watch him get in, though. I don't know about, you know, remember, getting in these things isn't just something that happens. This was pretty good. She was in really early. Look at her arms come up together.
She's been watching videos.
Well, this is well schooled, but she did have a lot of trips with the Dutch team last year.
On
the Europa Cup.
In her record, she's done 2 Europa Cup races, and this is her 3rd race.
Well, that's a lot. That's twice as many as World Cups.
No, just, yeah, it is now. 7.5 a World Cup. Anne van Nieuwenhuizen from Belgium, the 2nd of our Belgian sleds. The physio student with Sarah Ertz, who made her World Cup debut last week.
Well, she's going to give up a lot of time at the start, but she has been starting to show us that she's got some great eyes and hands down the track.
I think there's a few Belgian fans at the top of the track who might have signed themselves off work for the Friday. There's a lot of noise up there. As you say, the Dutch Alps is a big skiing area for the Low Countries, and the Belgians, lots of coach trips being organised, I'm sure, again this weekend.
A little mistake there. Watch here, the entrance to Greubel needs to be perfect. Little bit of tap there, but when you have a deficient start time, you can't tap any place.
7th fastest start. She's driven herself into 6th place at the Greubel. Now, can she keep it clean down the bottom, find some more speed? Good exit.
Good line there.
Yeah.
Watch the heads. Not bad.
4800s. This could challenge to be 3rd or 4th,
this is
maybe.
Really good. Look at the eye. She doesn't have the speed at the bottom I thought she'd have.
Should do. It's Elfia's old sled. 5th place.
Wow. She's just getting better.
She's 1300s behind Rodionova in 4th position. So that's a good run.
Sergeeva is still top of the leaderboard for the European Championships.
Yeah, Greubel
is. Well, the start, okay, from 0 to 30 kilometers an hour. Look at the difference. The Belgians were down almost over a half a kilometer.
No, that's the speed. That's how long it took them to get to 30. They accelerated even faster than the Americans. Took them just 5.1 seconds. So that's your 0 to 60 in your drag race. That's impressive. So there she is, Anne van Nieuwenhuizen with, look at the height difference between Anne, who's about 5'2", and Sarah Ertz, who's about 5'11" and change. Alfie Willemsen now, the #1 Belgian driver, with Sophie Verkrijzen. Sophie just 25 years old, former basketball player. Alfia, like a number of athletes in the field, a thrower. She was a javelin thrower.
Yeah, a lot of track and field, a lot of javelin and hammer throwers in the field. Nice technique by the brakeman there. Really, the two of them in. Of course, Alfie never is known for her start times, but she knows how to point the sled in the right direction. Didn't do very well in Altenburg last week. In fact, she was more disappointed than anybody. She sits down on the sled perfectly.
Well, Alfia, like Christina Hengster, has often threatened for medals here in the last 2 or 3 seasons, but not quite found the all-round game to go in amongst them. 4900's back leaves her 7th.
And she started off 8th. It's a good exit. Let's see how she gets through 9. Her teammate was just perfect. No steering there.
That's like it wasn't even a corner for her.
Look at these lines. She knows how to drive. She usually finds a way to manage the best speed on the bottom part of these tracks, but not today.
She's going to slip in front of her teammate. She does, for 5th position by 1100ths.
And her teammate beat her at the start, right? Yeah. So
yeah, by 12.
1200, so that's quite a run. That's what you expect out of Alfie Willemsen. And in essence, she's in 4th in the European Championships.
Yep. Not too close away. One tiny mistake from Rodionova, who's only 200s in front. And that is definite battle coming up for the World Cup medals.
Watch the brakeman. Look at the feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the feet coming down. Watch you side to side with the hips. I had a long conversation with Lolo Jones about hips and sprinting this morning. And, you know, there's
Alfia on the right, Sophie on the left. Yeah, hip to knee, that's what it's all about. That's the new language of power. Not a new language for Kaylee Humphreys. That's what skiers have, hip to knee. And she was a former skier, the 31-year-old double Olympic champion. 27-year-old Cynthia Appiah back on the back. Another shot putter, hammer throw, another explosive power athlete.
Well, this should be a person who could challenge for the lead here at the bottom part of the track. The double Olympic champion, and she got 18 victories now.
Yeah.
What did we say? Sandra Kariasis gave us a card last week to show how many she had. 46.
41 World Cup, and that's just wins, yeah. Plus World Championships.
And she had like 38 silver medals or something.
Yeah.
I just double taked. It was in print, so I had to believe it.
800s behind Jamie Greubel Poser. Don't forget, last season they swapped wins. So far it's been Kaylee, Jamie, Kaylee, and now Jamie leads again.
It'd be perfect down here to have a chance to catch Jamie. She's not going to do it.
Gap is growing out from 200 at the start. It'll be nearly 3/10 at the bottom of the track. She's third place behind Sergeva.
Boy, Sergeva had some run, especially with the start time. Sergeva, I think, is probably the most surprising person on top of this leaderboard right there. She beat Hengster. She beat Kelly. That's probably the first time she's ever beat Kelly Humphreys.
Yep. Started a 10th slower than Kaylee
too.
And beat her by 3/10 at the bottom. She should have been 3/10 back. So what are the Canadians doing in terms of runner choices and setup and testing?
Cynthia's looking ahead. Look at her eyes. She's looking like, you know, instead of, I don't know. I've never seen brakeman look up like that. Boy, she was in and down really quick, and that right arm is, that right wing still not in properly.
Now, if you want to stop them bobbing their head, get them to focus on a point in the distance.
And look, does she put the brakes on here? Where? She's still looking.
Yeah, head up. Well, you don't want to put the brakes on too early.
No.
Feather them on now.
Well,
get some speed
her head came up there pretty quick in the finish.
Yeah.
And dealing with hundredths of seconds, that could be a couple.
Next up is our world champion from 2015 on this track. Alana Myers-Taylor won the title then with Sherelle Garrett, but with 5'1" pocket rocket Kerry Jones, she set the start record.
Drift there. See if it costs them. Tied their Jamie Greubel Poser's time, but that drift's going to cost them. Second best speed. I think they drifted out of those at the top of the track before that curve pulled as they got in the sled. She's sliding, as we mentioned, with a heavy heart, losing her grandfather, Don. I remember him at the Olympics, Vancouver, when Alana won a bronze medal as a brakeman.
Yeah, grandparents don't come much prouder. 400ths of a second. This is very tight with Jamie Greubel Poser down to 100th as she comes into corner 9.
It's not going to help. This is late here. She's going to have to steer hard here, but she's got the lead. It's 100. It's going to go 100th of a second either way.
Are we going to have a dead heat here? It wouldn't be the first time.
100th of a second, the two American sleds.
And of course, that still means that Nadezhda Sergeva leads the European Championship run.
Well, listen, I'm still amazed that she's 100th in the lead after the mistake in curve 9. And she was red numbers and made the mistake in curve 9, and she emerged from that with green numbers. And then back into the red to start. You know, I think if they show this at the 0 to 30, look at the difference. Myers-Taylor.
Wow.
Look at the drift.
Second
quicker. Look at the drift. Look at the sled coming to the right here. Yeah. She's not. They might have run too far. So they came way over to the right side, which means.
Did they take a knock?
I think they touched.
Let's take a look.
There.
Yeah,
they touched there.
Double tap.
You could tell the way the angle of that sled came out of those grooves. And then down here, watch this. This is not how to do it. And
straightens itself up. She didn't have a big panic, but 100th off the lead. There's Kerry Jones on the left, 5'1". Next up is Maria Constantin of Romania, former swimmer and 400-meter hurdler. Erika Halle behind her, the 27-year-old ex-long jumper. So the second of our Romanian crews.
Home track. Boy, it looks like they didn't hit the bar cohesively together, but she struggled with it, and she hit it. The driver and the brakeman, that's where you develop that cohesiveness in the summer, doing the dry land training, and doing that cadence and hitting that bar where the brakeman comes off the blocks the same time the driver hits the push button.
Well, I think this might be Erika Halle's first start since Christmas, if not this season, so
I think she was in Whistler, but I think they got banged up in Whistler.
They'll have done a bit of training, of course, so you're not entirely thrown in at the deep end, but race day and training are very different when the camera's hanging over your head. 13th at the start, up to 11th on the split times.
This is the good lines. Maria can drive. She drives 4 mans. Nice transition. It's pretty good, pretty tidy.
Nice lines, could be top 10. And don't forget, we're going to take 4 North American sleds out as well of the European Championships.
Boy, not a bad 13th to 10th.
Yeah.
When anytime you start, your start number, and you improve it at the finish, that means you had a good drive down the track.
7th of the European teams, because we take out Jamie Greubel Poser, Alana Myers-Taylor, and Kaylee Humphreys. They're 3 of the top 4 at the moment.
Look at the way they pick the sled up and move it. Watch the lines here. Watch how quiet she comes off the curb. Let's look at the helmets. See how quiet her helmet was in there. Doesn't go back and forth left to right. These are as good a lines as we've seen anybody come down the track.
So there is Maria on the right, Erika on the left. They currently lie in the top 10 after the first of our 2 heats. Misha McNeil has another World Cup debutant behind her. 30-year-old Montel Douglas from Lewisham in London. Lewisham's first ever bobsledder. This is her first week in the sport.
We had her in for headshots, and they said, we have to go. I go, why? Well, she's got to go up and prepare. She's never been down before.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean she's never had a practice run? Never. No. So we interviewed her. What's it like? And she started talking. We talked to her afterwards, and she was like, ooh, it was a little different. But
when did you start? Today.
Today. That's like that John Fogerty song.
Yeah, put me in touch.
Coach.
Well, 4/10s back, up into 9th position, Mish. Montel Douglas, 30-year-old, former Great Britain 100-meter record holder. She's run the 2nd fastest ever 100 meters by a British athlete.
Watch out, Misha.
And she competed in Athens in the 4x100 relay for Great Britain as well.
Athlete.
So we've got 2 Athens Olympians from 4x100.
That's a pretty good run.
That's a good run to 7th place. So that makes her 4th in Europe. There's Pete Gunn on the left. Welcome back, Peter.
Good to see him. But
Yeah.
how about Miss Douglas here, though? Congratulations. I told her she got to it takes her first run in the bobsled. She got to go drink a glass of champagne.
Yeah,
Champagne and thrills. She looked at me and said, "What do you mean by that?" I try to tell her the tradition and the story.
Or at least a bratwurst at the bottom here. The second greatest thing in bobsledding.
Up here, speeds are slow. This is a mistake that she wishes she had back. She's not that far. She's tied, in fact, for 7th.
Yeah.
Elfie Williamson.
Yeah.
She doesn't beat or tie Elfie Williamson too often. That was a great run.
Yeah. Good start from them. And a great first run from Montel Douglas. 2 sleds left to go in this first round. Mariama Yamanka for Germany, 26-year-old. And the return of Annika Dratzek, who took the silver medal here 2 seasons ago in the World Championships with Anja Schneiderheinze, and won gold in February last year now, with Schneidi.
Well,
so she's competed in 2 World Championships, but she's only ever done 6 World Cup races, Annika Dratzek.
That's a great start time.
I know.
That's
why she's back.
Wow. She got the lead. She had great times in training. I was looking at it. I said, that can't be her.
Yes, it is.
Yamanka.
Yamanka made her debut last season. Annika Dratzek the year before, but Yamanka's done more races.
That type of start, I mean, we were impressed with her ability to drive the sled. She just had suspect start times. And here, perfect lines into Kreisel with a 10th lead. Boy, she's going to be the leader here.
Yeah. A 10th in hand over last year's winner.
And it's accelerating away. Perfect. Wow, is this going to be surprise? I don't think anybody expected this. It's 12. She's going to lose some time back. Doesn't have very good speed here. Could be close.
Could be close into single digits. 57-24. What a good run.
She's never beat 7 or 8 of those people that are behind her right now. That's the first time she ever beat 7 people in the field.
Well, she's had an 11th place result in Whistler, didn't race in Lake Placid, and 10th in Altenburg this season.
She got it. Come on, somebody's got to tell her. Awesome. Look, just another day at the office. Now they say that Dratzek, look how quickly look at the technique she had. That's the best brakeman technique we've seen yet. And look at the speed. Better speed before curve 1, Yamanka. That's related to that brakeman.
4 tenths of a kilometre an hour better. There's Annie Dratzek on the left. Now, we heard that she had started driving in the beginning of this season.
10 trips.
Yeah.
She says she likes it, but she says she's going to concentrate on the brakeman position. I don't blame the Germans for that.
They need her as a brakeman more now at 21 than they need her as a driver. Another rookie. This is a rookie first season for driver Maria Oshigiri, but it is her first ever race for Matumi Sakauchi, her brakewoman. 26-year-old sports instructor, has done 4 Europa Cup races in her life, and now she makes her World Cup debut. Oshigiri now starting her 2nd ever World Cup race. Beg your pardon, her second.
Not easy for that brakeman to get in, get down behind the driver because they're both so small.
Yeah.
And the sleds are the same for everybody. The weight might be different, but the aerodynamic frame that they sit in is pretty much the same for big, tall, short. Ooh, somebody's still on the track. Wow!
Yikes.
What was that?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
I think he thought that the run had finished. He's clearly not listening.
Wow.
Track workers always step in after the
I wonder what the driver thought.
Yeah.
There might be a protest here. I don't think. Good lines here. No, didn't affect.
If it had cost her a place in the field, they would definitely have protested it.
But this is a development team. Hans Wimmer knows.
Yeah. However,
this is a medal team.
15th position, ahead of Andrea Greco, Lien de Decker, ahead of her teammate Homer, and ahead of Christine de Bruyne. Not a bad-looking run.
No. I wonder what she's.
I tell you what, she must have had eyes on stalks. She's telling her brakewoman there was a man in the road.
Well, we don't really understand Japanese, but...
Well, her brakewoman won't have known, though. She won't have seen it, but there was a track worker in the track.
start. Look at the brakeman's head down, then she's looking up, not focused, arms aren't locked. The driver's in quickly, and these two are in the sled earlier than anybody. And look at her right arm, the brakeman's arm still not in. Annika Drazik had the perfect technique, and that's probably why her and Yamaika had the third best start. Yamaika hasn't had a start like this. She's always been the 10 to 15th start range. How good is Drazik?
Well, they needed somebody who could keep up with Schneiderheinz on the front handles, and in the end they found somebody, and that somebody was Annika Drazik, and she gives the turbo after boosters to Mariami. Yamaika gives her every opportunity.
Everybody was saying Yamaika doesn't have a chance because she can't start the sled. Well, I think people might reconsider that. I heard that from a lot of people in the last couple of weeks.
She managed to hang on to the speed as well. That sled's going quicker than she's ever been down this track, probably. Mariami Yamaika leads narrowly. Look at that, top 3 sleds, 600s. And then Sergeva, Humphreys, Hengster, Rodionova. Toss all the other names into a hat because this could all sort itself out very differently. Rodionova, Williamson, and McNeil, 3 sleds, 200ths of a second. Is this close enough for you?
In Winterberg, this is the personality of this.
That's the way the track runs.
1250-meter
again,
track.
Maria Constantine and Alicia Rissling, 100th of a second between them too. So there's a couple of large gaps. There's a couple of very, very small gaps. Anything less than a 10th of a second, you can consider that to be a near dead heat.
We've seen this before up here in Sauerland.
Yeah, hey, we can see the mountains in the distance. We couldn't even see our hands in front of our faces this morning. So hopefully the snow will stay away for the second and deciding heat. They're on ice at 1600 local, 1500 GMT. A little less, oh my goodness, it's early if you're watching on the East Coast or in the USA. Join us for the second and deciding heat. Meanwhile, from John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the crew, thank you for being with us. We'll be back just over 40 minutes.